Okay, so now I've got the New Orleans Saints draft reaction, my favorite team, and I'll give my thoughts on each player and then give an overall grade at the end. So the first pick that the Saints took in the draft was Peyton Turner. At the time, I really hated the pick. I thought there was much better players to take. I still think there was. I still think it wasn't the best pick, but I kind of warmed up to a bit. Like I did watch some of his tape, and he's actually a pretty decent player. Like he's got really good size. Definitely has a lot of potential. Kind of just a more refined Marcus Davenport coming out of college, I think. And he does have really good potential. I don't know how much you really pay. He also has like versatility to play defensive tackle also at points. You can get like all your pass rushers on like the field at the same point, which I think you can do with Peyton Turner definitely. And yeah, I think he could be a replacement for Marcus Davenport or Cam Jordan whenever he leaves. So I like it, but I still would have took like Asante Samuel or Jeremiah Wusu or Elijah Moore because I probably like all those players a bit more than Peyton Turner. But if they wouldn't have taken any of those, I do like Peyton Turner. I think he's a good player, so I didn't mind it. And then they took Pete Werner. Yeah, linebacker was a big need. There was some with every single pick for the Saints, besides like the pick I'll get to next. I think there was players that they could have took instead that were better. It's kind of same with the Pete Werner pick. I think there might have been better linebackers. Like maybe Jabril Cox can be better in the future. Pete Werner definitely has a lot of potential. Like he was just a really good linebacker, really good scheme for the Saints. Also, to kind of be that alongside Demario Davis will like kind of fight for that role of Zach Bond. But I think Pete Werner will win that just because he's more traditional linebacker. Zach Bond's more of an outside rush the passer linebacker. But Pete Werner, yeah, very good instinctive player. Just a good coverage player, also very versatile. Like he's pretty athletic. I mean, he is athletic because that's what they drafted the Saints as athletes pretty much. And the Saints love Ohio State players, and he definitely is from Ohio State, man. So it makes sense, kind of Pete Werner, and he's a good linebacker. He was kind of flying up boards a bit before the draft. And this is probably my favorite pick in the draft. I was a really big fan of Paulson Adebo even before the draft. He was one of my sleepers out of all the players in the draft. I really liked Paulson Adebo. And my Saints, they get him, and I just loved it. I don't know if he's a day one starter. I think year two would be best for him. Maybe sign a veteran corner. He can learn behind the veteran, get in for some plays if injuries happen. I think he'd be a really reliable player. Amazing upside. Like he was a really good cornerback before he opted out. Like people had him going in first and second rounds. Like that was his kind of range just because he was such a good ball hawk, like really good at getting after the ball, pass deflections and interceptions. Also has good speed, was like a track athlete. I think he'd be a really good number two corner for Marshawn Lattimore. Could maybe turn into that number one. And you don't know what's going to happen to Marshawn Lattimore, what the NFL does with him because of his incident. So you get Paulson Dable, he might have to start straight away. I think he can do that. I think he can be a starter. I just don't think it's the best situation for him to start straight away. But the Saints really need a corner, and I like the pick. Probably my favorite pick. I like them taking that. And probably my least favorite pick, Ian Book. Quarterback Notre Dame, man. I was so disappointed when this happened. Fourth round. There were such good players on the board. Like, there were still really good. I was annoyed because Tylan Wallace went just before. I would have loved that for the Saints, but he went off just before. I still think there was better receivers you could have took. You take Ian Book, man. Does he really have that much outside? He has got a noodle arm like Drew Brees, but he doesn't have the processor like Drew Brees. Like, he doesn't go through his reads. It's just like, oh, that guy's open. Bang. He just looks at the same player the whole play. And he's a pretty good athlete, but we don't really need that. We got Taysom Hill to be that running back, kind of, not running back, be that athletic quarterback. His pocket presence as well, that's kind of the only really good thing. Good leader, but as a quarterback in this draft, he was just not a really good player, and I don't really know if he can really be a good player in the league either. I think he'll just be an average backup. I don't think he could ever be a starter, so I just didn't like it in the fourth round. I don't know what the Saints see. I prefer Jameis Winston. I don't know why we would pick Ian Book. I didn't mind this pick, Landon Young. We did trade up. That was the only thing. He was a good player at Kentucky. He was one of the best tackles in the class. I mean, picked 20, like they have him as 22nd. He's probably around there, but it was a very deep tackle class. He was very productive at Kentucky. He was like a 5-star coming out of high school. And the Saints, they could use, I mean, You got Teron Armstead, but he's getting older and is injured quite a lot. And Ryan Ramczyk, they franchised, picked up his 5th-year option actually. So, I mean, I assume we'll try and get a deal with Ryan Ramczyk, one of the best tackles in the league. But maybe as a future left tackle for the Saints after Teron Armstead, I think Landon Young can be that. He also has versatility in guard. Like, I think he'll get some snaps next season because Teron Armstead, you never know. But we kind of got. I don't know if he'll come in for Teron Armstead because we already got what's the dude? Is it Hurst? Why was I saying Hurst? Hurst stopping, her like popping in my head. I don't know. I can't remember. Trust me, I know Saints players. Shut up. We re-signed him. He played on Baltimore. Blah blah blah. He did versatile in guard. So if stuff happens, I just Pete or anybody just gets injured, I think he can step in. So that is very good to look to the future also. So I didn't mind it. Thought he was a good player. And then we took Kawan Baker. Yeah, he was very productive at South Alabama. Pretty good deep threat also. Not like the fastest player, but just a good all-round player. Like, I mean, he was kind of just their main target at South Alabama. He just got all the snaps basically and was really good at it. I think he does have some upside also. I think he could be a really good slot receiver maybe. I don't know how much he'll play straight away. I think he could be that third receiver who wins out people in camp. Like, we know we got Michael Thomas, but injuries last year, you don't know what's going to happen. You need receivers to step up. And I think Quan Baker can do that. Be a really good deep threat target for Jameis Winston. So I like Quan Baker, and I like the pick for the 7th round. I was a bit surprised, but he's a good player, so I didn't mind it. So, I mean, the Saints draft overall, I like some of the picks, dislike some of the picks. Like, wouldn't have picked Ian Book. Probably still wouldn't have picked Peyton Turner, but don't mind it too much. I like Pete Werner and Paulson Adebo, and Landon Young and Quan Baker I also like. So there's 4 picks I quite liked, and then there was just those 2 that kind of put it down a bit for me. I'd probably give it a B. Probably a bit of bias just because I'm a Saints fan. But, I mean, I don't think it was that bad as people thought. I think we got 3 starters, like, in Peyton Turner, like, in the future, definitely. Like, Peyton Turner, Pete Werner, and Paulson Dable. 3 starters on the defense, and some with pretty high upside, like Pete Werner. I mean, all of them have high upside, especially, like Peyton Turner, still growing as a pass rusher, and Paulson Adebo opted out after having like a really good season. Same with Pete Werner, like he opted out also. So it's kind of just unknown. And then I hate Ian Book pick, and then the rest 2 were just good players, just good value also. So I like it. And B minus, no B I mean, I almost said B minus again. Oh no, yeah B for the Saints. I like it. Favorite team. Didn't mind it too much. Some picks I hated though. So that's kind of the only thing that bumps it down a bit. So that was it, and so